And live reaction to what the heck Bricky said about female custodes. So guys, as many of you know, I'm a big fan of Bricky's work because he has produced one of the most entertaining Warhammer 40k videos, and of course a lot others. Depends on what you like. Yeah, so for me to have to do a response video to what he said about female custodes is very strange and very disappointing, so to speak. And we are going to get into all of that right now. So I'm going to play what he said, and of course his video is going to be in the description on the top of it, so you can click on it and watch it for yourself, of course. So yeah, I'm going to play what he's saying, talk about his particular point, explain my point of view and why that point of view is the way that it is, and we're going to continue forward and so on and so forth. So that's how this is going to go, and of course this is live, and if you watch this recorded, then hello to you. But yeah, this is live right now. So we are starting here, guys, because there's no time to lose, and you can always watch for more context my coverage of the female custody situation. It's here on the channel. So yeah, let's watch Bricky.
Hey, how's it going? It's like 10 p.m. right now. It's probably not the best idea to do all this, but I've been asked 9,000 times about the custodian thing, so I guess I'll just rattle through all the things so I can like have a place to point chat, like a video.
Yes, I get that, that he is bothered by people about this. But then again, guys, we are also going to touch upon literal psychological stuff that he is doing here in the way that he's speaking and acting. And basically that means that he's trying to manipulate us to think that this is nothing. So yeah, I think that that's pretty obvious, but still, I'm going to justify what the heck I want to point out. So yeah, explain it, I mean.
Ask me these damn questions, and I just be like, here, watch this, and go away. Female custodians, thoughts? It's fine. It really makes no difference. You know, it's a giant 10-foot tall person in power armor, regardless whether that has an SHE or an HE, genuinely doesn't matter. It affects the game in no way whatsoever, nor really the universe. It's nothing. It's cool. Fine with.
Okay, so yeah, this is his first point, that does not affect the universe at all, because we are talking about fictional things. But then again, he's also going to point out later on how the 40k universe is like nothing else. So the fact that something is fictional and is not in the real life, it does not exist, it doesn't mean that it does not hold any value. And of course we know this because every one of us is a fan of something, and that something is created to also have particular meaning and direction, to say something about someone or just some stuff. I mean, all kinds of art have meaning and purpose, and we find inspiration in that. So it holds a special place in our heart if anything has touched us in particular ways, and 40k is one of those things in this case. So to say that a change doesn't matter because it affects nothing doesn't mean that it affects nothing at all. It means that, oh, maybe, just maybe, it violates a principle. But we're going to also talk about that as well. So, continuing.
Whatever. This undermines the Sisters of Silence role in the Towns of the Emperor. I wouldn't think so. If you believe that the most defining factor of the Silent Sisterhood is that they're women, as opposed to them all being psychic pariahs, that whole point is to serve against the custodians that are not psychic pariahs as this kind of like tag team force to deal with psychers. If the everyone being a girl part is like the more important part, I think the priorities are screwed up. I mean, clearly the name Sisters of Silence definitely puts it more in the forefront of your brain, but as far as I'm concerned, the entire point of the Sisters is their blank pariah gene. If there were guys part of the Sisters of Silence group, it would sure sound weird because, sisterhood and all that kind of stuff, but the male ones normally go to, Clux's assassins and that kind of stuff. It doesn't undermine the Sisters of Silence at all. If anything, GW should have given them a larger range to begin with, but Games Workshop is known for making poor decisions.
Yes, okay, so yeah, I agree that Sisters of Silence should be expanded on. Many people have pointed that out. In general, all the female factions should have more to do on the tabletop and in general in the lore. Like, why not? Why not give them more of a scene, so to speak, more role? But to his other points, guys, I don't agree. I mean, let's look at it that way. Okay, it undermines the sisters in the case where you have only a female faction here, the Sisters of Silence, in this case, because they're like the custodes in a way that they're fighting alongside them and they're compensating for something that custodes do not have, which is of course psychic powers. And the pariahs, the Sisters of Silence, they actually counter any psyker that may attack, the custodes. So they help in that regard. They a shield against other psychic powers, other psychic beings, and so on. So they really complement the custodes, and they're all female faction, which is great because it's explained in the lore how that is happening, how there are so few and far in between women that carry this gene, and all of that has to do with the sisters. So they have to be female, and custodes have to be male, because what custodes also represent is this just amazing representation of individuals that have exceptional qualities, both physical, mental, just the willpower, so many things, just amazingness altogether. And if you make someone from the custodes a woman, then you are breaking the core nature of this faction, basically, because there are women factions and you're not putting males in them. And in the same manner, you're not supposed to be putting females in the other male faction. Just doesn't make any sense. And both female and male factions have their literal roles and they're unique in their own original way. So to make changes like that does not serve any purpose and does not make any freaking sense. So if this is adding to the factions, the lore, okay, if it makes them make more sense, enriches them in some kind of a way, but no, they're meant to be men and women, and there's nothing wrong with that. So to think that there's something wrong with custodes being only male, that's the problem. So we are getting here to the problem which Bricky is missing, or he doesn't want to see, or he doesn't want to acknowledge one of those things. That the problem here is not that female characters all of a sudden are part of the custodes and that they are female custodes. The problem is that a core principle is broken and you are taking a very well established male faction and the strongest and putting a female there for unknown reasons why, and you're not explaining the why and you're not giving any justification for that. And if there isn't any, then this means that this decision is forced and that it has some kind of other idea behind it, and it is breaking a principle here. We were talking about this many times, why this is different than the other retcons, or rather additions to the lore or further explanations of the lore. So you have to watch my other videos to not make this an hour long just by these points. But yeah, basically undermining the Sisters of Silence means that you're not really paying attention to the Sisters of Silence, because all of a sudden you're pointing the attention to the custodes once again, instead of some attention being also set aside for the Sisters of Silence, because really GW has kind of neglected their female factions altogether. So that would be a better service to Warhammer altogether if you actually create more lore and more cool stories and just as the tabletop players would say, just to make, you know, to give more power to these factions so you can actually build an army that's like better equipped or whatever, you know, better than me if you play the tabletop, what you need from these factions. But yeah, the point is, why not do that instead of, I mean, that would make sense. That will be good for everyone, for the factions, for the story, for the lore, for the players, for everyone. But putting a female custody into the male, I mean, into the custodies for absolutely no justification, rather than just putting a woman in there, that's not enough to make this have any value. And it's not enough to justify it just by itself, because it is literally chaotic move. It's not something that is cohesive. It's not something that is a show of any kind of a amazing perception, intelligence of the writers or GW. Is just a random chaotic move. That's why I call it freaking chaos. And freaking chaos did this. That's why that is how I that's how I decided to go with my own and funny animations about this. Yeah, which you can watch here on the channel.
Story short, chicks and custodians does not change the importance or value of the Silent Sisterhood. This is a major retcon of previous lore. First time?
Yeah, and he wants to once again undermine what is the difference between this change and the previous changes that were made, because there's many, like the Necrons, they are relatively new compared to other factions in the lore, and for GW to expand them and give us more stories and more lore, more structure to them, and whatever they can actually give us of the Necrons, for example, that is really an addition. It's more like an addition, and finishing up like the whole concept of the Necrons as they are. It is totally different when you take something that is concrete, established, you know what that is, and then you change it to something else or to fit something else. That's totally different to all of a sudden say that there's a woman amongst the custodies where we know that there isn't, and and that was not the case ever. That's totally freaking different. I don't know why nobody can make this difference. I mean, see the difference? I mean, not nobody, but obviously a lot of people are like, why do you have a problem with this? But you don't have a problem with that. Nobody has a problem with a woman character in anything unless they're really sexist. Nobody has this problem. The problem is when you do something out of the blue for no justifiable reason. It's going to be the same if you put a man amongst the sisters of battle and you say that, oh, this guy just thinks that he's a woman, so why not be a sister of battle? If you do that, oh, no, this is crap. So remember, a good story is not about a man, a woman, a particular gender, particular character. The story should be about the stories themselves, the quality, what the story is telling you, what the character represents. I mean, that character could tell you or teach you something super wise or amazing, or just they can tell you a very good, interesting story. And the story is always going to be more interesting, and through that character, you're going to see the world, let's say. And it's never going to be as important what preferences they have or what the gender they are. I mean, like I've said before, I enjoyed and I loved all of the male characters that I ever seen as heroes. Superman, Superman, Spider-Man. I wanted to be Spider-Man when I was growing up. I wanted to be Superman. I totally didn't like notice that they're guys. I mean, obviously I know that, but that didn't really click in my brain when I was a kid. I was just like, oh, I want to be Superman, yay! And I used to put a red cape around around my neck, and I tried to climb walls. I mean, play like that, on the wall when I wanted to be Spider-Man. And then of course I also liked female characters when they appeared, like Xena, and she was a freaking icon to me, and that was awesome. But in the same lane, if a male character is written as deep and as good as Xena, to me that character, that man, will be as inspirational as Xena can be. So it's never about freaking gender or whatever. It's about quality, substance, meaning, all of those things that I really like actually 40k for, because it's not just about these little men on the tabletop, because I can't play the tabletop even if I want to. I don't have access to that or money to sustain such a hobby or space. But the lore itself and how it's written is the fascinating thing. And yeah, I do agree with Bricky. He will say that a bit later on, that 40k is nothing is like 40k. No matter how many mutual things you can draw from other universes, nothing is like 40k in the way that it's written, done, made. The ideas in it, I mean, they're just amazing. Okay.
Probably. Yeah, no, Games Workshop does this all the time. You could point to 9,000 different spots where they probably said, like, all of the men of the 10,000th, the noble sons of the 10,000th in some codex from whatever the hell. This is never the first time. I mean, they redid the entirety of the Necron lore. There were, like, Eldar.
Yes, men. Exactly. All the men. All the men.
Human hybrids at a time. They had squats that murdered them all, then brought them back. I mean, God, we could be here for an hour and a half on all of the retcon lore. Games Workshop does this all the time, expecting this to be some kind of sanctic area, a pillar, especially this, of all things, like the gender of a custodian is foolish.
It's not foolish, and I just explained why it's not foolish. But okay, I mean, like I've said, when you add to the lore expand on certain faction, that's totally different. There's a lot of things that GW, as they go, they have to figure out. Okay, we have a lot of things that are like floating rocks or something, you can call them. Maybe, the lore that's really not set in stone, but the lore that is set in stone, like also the fact that the Emperor is on the golden throne for 10,000 years, they cannot just come out and say that, oh no, actually, the Emperor is lost and he's not on the golden throne for 10,000 years. But we, especially for the people that have read this for the first time, that was years ago, how many years they spent with the thought that the Emperor is on the golden throne, and all of a sudden GW is like, no, he's not. He's I don't know, he's teleported somewhere in Slaaneshy's ass or something. Of course the people are going to be freaking mad, because it's a concrete fact that he is on the golden throne. Those things you do not retcon, especially you cannot retcon them without a genuine reason, a genuine making sense reason. I mean, we thought that the Emperor was holding back when he was fighting Horus. Now we know that that's not the case. But that, with the holding back, I don't think that was ever like a concrete lore exactly. We were always waiting for more books to, take a closer look to how this fight actually went down and what actually happened. So it was always like hearsay. And yeah, it was never like this happened and this happened. So that's why they had a bit more freedom in the latest books to write what exactly happened between Horus and the Emperor. I don't want to spoil it, but it's rather very different. At least we know actually that the Emperor now has this amazing light being sent off that is a part of himself. It's all of his good qualities. That basically is the origin of the Star Child, and he sent that hopefully somewhere in space to also develop, by the way, as it sits there, all the love, all the compassion, just all the really positive qualities. And someday that Star Child is supposed to reunite with the Emperor, making him whole, and maybe that's going to be the key to his return. Who knows? But the point is that there's some things that are very cool that were added and made the lore more interesting and rich, and set some things up for the future to happen. And in the same time, it changed how we thought about it, but it was not once again set in stone. While Custodes being male is set in stone, and that's not about, once again, about gender, like how he dismisses this. It's about breaking of the principle. It's not about a gender per se, particularly. That's missing the point. It's about that GW, found a way to break the lore by changing something. And just so happens to be just a gender, something that was a concrete thing. So that's the problem. The principle is broken. And it's not the problem that somebody has a problem with women, because no sane person will have a problem with female characters just because they're female, you know.
Games Workshop has gone woke. First time.
Yes, when did they go woke? Because all the books that I read, everything was absolutely fine and normal, fine and dandy. I mean, normal. You know, when there's female characters that have spotlight, in all the books, there's someone that's very compelling. Uh, Men are men. I mean, what's the issue here? How is GW woke before that? I have no idea.
Woke is a phrase that is, for me, a pretty obvious signifier for someone who clearly is interested in getting a lot of views, or
No, Bricky, you know, this just comes with the times. Of course, woke is a famous word for a reason. So, what does it mean? Somebody interested in getting a lot of views. Yeah, it's like that is very easy to do on YouTube. It's not. I've been here for so many years that I don't want to even admit. And I haven't achieved much because of a lot of things. I mean, it has to do with well, the algorithm, my own growth and content, and being a ton of competition in my field and all of that. But the point is not about it's not about twisting things to look like somebody wants to say woke this, woke that, so I get the views. No, woke is actually a real thing that is uh, that is a cancer to today's society and how we think. And this is coming from a person who actually lives in a country where sexism is still a thing to a certain extent, especially from people in certain cities that have different mindsets, different upbringings. I can still deal with someone that is going to say something that's not very pleasant, that has to do with me being a girl, you know. So I'm still dealing with that and have dealt with that my whole life. Sorry, I'm trying to just turn off my vibrations. Uh, yeah. And I still know the differences between real sexism, real discrimination, real whatever. You know, I do not act like a pinched Missy. Like, oh my gosh, oh no, oh what is this? Oh no, 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 no. You know? Oh, Jesus Christ. So you cannot downplay that and be like, woke is because you want views. No, it's just the unfortunate truth that we live in, and it's an expression to just put all of those things that are absolutely mindless together, you know, and explain why it's not good for anyone and it's not real equality at all. It's actually the opposite. So yeah.
describing in-group participation with a particularly nasty group of individuals, normally ones that give Elon Musk money on Twitter. No, I mean, it kind of also really shows, it's like a personal indictment that you don't actually keep up with the lore. Twice Dead King Rain had a Necron that was trans.
When did that happen? Did it say that they're trans? Like what?
There was discussion of gender and the concept of non-binariness, non-binary people with orcs in the Gaskell Thraka book.
Okay, I want someone to find that if you can. I mean, I can search it for myself, but if you really, because sometimes people say that there's something in the book and then you read it and actually it's something different or is not clear enough or something like that. Like, for example, the fact that many people point out that Sanguinius before said that, oh, all of these golden men and I mean men and women clad in golden armor next to the emperor, and he meant that they are female custodes. Actually, as we all know, Sisters of Silence also are clad in golden armor, so he could be talking about, of course, the Custodes and Sisters of Silence next to the Emperor, and they should be next to the Emperor. So you want to tell me that there are no Sisters of Silence next to the Emperor and only Custodes? Really? And also, it's a fact now, and we know this, that this thing with the Custodes came up now. GW came up with it now. So it wasn't a thing before at all. The fact that they want to say that custodes were always in the lore is just that they said it, so it can make us think that if you are not paying attention this whole time. And Bricky is doing the same thing. He wants to be like, oh, new here? Oh, this has always been the case. I really want to read those passages where it says exactly the words. Are those words even used, like the non-binary thing or whatever? Because until I actually see this, I do not trust what he's saying here. Gotta see exactly that. Okay, guys, I'm gonna check your comments as soon as I can. Just have to finish this.
Alfarius, head of the Hydra, had a lesbian relationship that helped serve Alfarius. Genuinely, it's a clear signifier that not been keeping up with the actual stuff. As a big news article happens, you get all in a big tizzy about it. Everything's in a bunch, and you get angry about it because it's the new big thing. But this,
no, it's not. I mean, we're not angry about that. It's the new big thing. We are angry about the principle being broken. That's it, really.
this has always been here. If there was a time for GW to have gone woke, that was a while ago.
No, I don't believe that. Sorry. No.
Bricky has gone woke.
And as far as I understand from other YouTubers, Bricky was always being woke, but I never noticed because when he does his videos, he does not bring those things into his funny videos, creations, all of that. I didn't get that at all. Yeah, so, yeah.
I mean, same kind of deal, right? If this response to all of this is surprising, then you did not watch my content whatsoever.
No, I did. I mean, I watched the fun videos once again. If he ever talked about some woke stuff in his videos and he was for woke stuff in his videos, yeah, I didn't watch those for sure. I just watched his Warhammer funny videos. So, okay, that's fair. I mean, I only watched these.
This is incredibly in line with everything I've been saying. This is just the start. Eventually, it's going to become female Space Marines. It's just the beginning. Probably, yeah.
Not sure about that because, okay, I know that everyone are thinking that if GW are willing to do this, then they're maybe willing to do female Space Marines, which was the talk for years. But still, they also, that's one of the things that did it does say in the lore that only men can become Space Marines. It's just how the gene scene works. The physiology has to be such that it can withstand the transformation. All of the things that are required to become physically a Space Marine, they just have to be men. And not only men, but one of the most exceptional men. Because otherwise, other men are just going to freaking die anyways by the transformation. They have to be very, 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 very special in a lot of sense of the word, but mostly physically, because they have to withstand the whole thing, the whole process, the trials, whatever you can name. So if they retcon that, then they really have to think about some kind of excuse, justification, super mega good writing. I just don't want that to happen. I mean, I don't believe that that will happen, although I know that you will say that probably will happen. I don't know. Right now, I just don't want to believe it, maybe, that it will happen. Because once again, it's just breaking of lore and breaking of a principle. So I just don't want this to spiral into an uncontrollable, mindless wokeness from GW, and especially that I just can't believe that I said just a few months ago how, Warhammer is one of those things that are untouched by today's bullcrap, and they can think of all the bad things and write them, and everything's gonna be fine as long as it's good writing. And nobody's gonna say that women are discriminated against or whatever. But literally, they will say whatever they want to say, because I just found out today that in 2023 there was an article where someone decided to lie that the emperor is genderqueer, and I just did a stream about this before this stream. just an hour ago. So if you want to watch that, yeah, you can. Okay, continuing.
I mean, it's not too hard to fit it in the lore in a way. Just have Call do it, you know?
No, what? It's not too hard to fit it in the lore. It's not too hard. Just, yeah, Cole do it. Cole is very, very busy, but with his own issues, which I don't want to spoil. This one of the last books really awesome, but what, Cole do it? Just Cole do it? Like, why do it? You see how dismissive he is. Nothing matters. Nothing has a meaning. Just do it. Just, you want to put female space marine? Just do it. Why? Just tell me why, Bricky. He will not tell me why, but you know what I mean. Tell me why. What is the reason? For anything to exist, you have to give it some kind of a reasoning for that. That's good writing. Good writing is when things make sense. Characters are very well built. You understand what type of a person they are, even without much explanation. Just the way that they're written. It's a skill. It's a thing. When you watch a movie, for example, there's no like 500 tons of background story of a particular character, but the movie, the way that they show you the character, their journey, whatever they're doing, whatever they're saying, you have immediately like this perfect idea of who this person is and what they are capable of. Some movies are very good in that, and TV shows as well. Some are not, and you need so much explanation, and it just becomes tedious and exposition that really is on the nose and really, really visible. But when it's seamless, that's amazing, and you can do that in books, in anything really. Okay, let's continue because I really forgot my thought, but yeah, I wanted to basically say that it's important how you write things and you cannot be dismissive about everything, because then again, what is stopping GW to just say they're pigs and Warhammer and then carry an armor? That's a new faction. Like, why not? Why not? If we are not going to have any principles, any moral compass for anything, just do whatever. Like, what? Just have them do it. Have them do it. Like, do you have like no respect to what you claim to love, Bricky? I just don't get that, you know?
God, what other stuff have they just completely pulled out of their ass from like old school lore? Million things. Call is half the reason for all of it.
So you really want for GW to pull things out of their butts? That's a very good expression to explain the nature of these decisions. But yeah, do you really want that for your favorite freaking universe? Is this quality, Bricky? Is it quality? Is it? What defines quality? Meaning? Meaning depth of some kind, like interesting, fascinating storylines and characters, like even freaking Belisarius Cole versus Fabius Bao, that last book, absolutely fascinating between those two, how they talk to each other, what one is capable of, the other one is capable of. It's amazing. That's why, one of the reasons that I really love 40K is about the unique characters, their interactions, the whole universe, the nature of the universe, the Emperor, and he's so interesting and deep in the Primarchs, and each and every one of them is so different. They bring so much to the table. So many things can be said about the 40K universe.
Hell, you could have Bile do it too. I mean, if someone was going to do that on the Chaos side too, it would probably be Bile.
But if Bile does it, then it's going to be just on the Chaos side, so what does it matter? He already did a female warrior that's extremely strong and can fight on a Stardy pretty successfully. Pretty freaking successfully. So he can do that, but that will not affect, male space marines. They're separate still, so
Fabius is like probably the guy that you would have do that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, probably. I mean, I can read the writing on the wall. It's probably coming at some point soon. I was on record a while ago being like, female space marines are kind of mid whatever to me because pull away from like the Sisters of Battle, so to speak. But for me, it's more that like I just don't trust Games Workshop to do it well, and like I don't much care, make it whatever the hell you feel like. But Sisters.
Well, he doesn't trust Games Workshop, but in the same time, he does not care. Make it whatever. Like, do you have an opinion about this? Like, real opinion? Like, can you like have a side? Where do you stand? Do you care? Or you don't care? So he does not trust Games Workshop, but he doesn't care. Okay, that's interesting. Matthew, great to catch you live. Okay, guys, because a lot of comments piled up, basically, I just want to see you in the chat and acknowledge you, and then we're going to continue with this. Okay, guys, hold on. An American grizzly bear. I see an American grizzly bear. Bricky just rose over for the Retcon. If he's okay with this, he'll be okay with anything as long as Amazon said they want it for no reason. Yeah, it seems so. Although some people are already saying that that thing with the Amazon pushing GW to do this is not true, but I haven't saw that yet myself, so we're just gonna wait and see how much of that is true. What is next? Trans Tyranid. Yeah, that's gonna be absolutely ridiculous. Do Tyranids even have a gender? Oh, yeah, actually, Gene Stealer do because they take human form. But I don't think that they even care about that. They just want to achieve their goals, their agendas. They don't care about which gender they are. If you give them a pinky, they will take the whole arm. Yes, exactly, exactly. Dream. That's the thing. Lazarus Long. Alternate title. So boy, Bricky versus the based Empress. This is gonna be fun. Oh, that's interesting actually. But I don't wanna call Bricky names. That's not who I am. I don't wanna call him names. A soy boy. I know what that means. But no, no, But yeah, you do have to have a backbone though for these things because being dismissive and talking down to people is not the best way to go. At least, I don't know. Anyway, we're going to continue with what he's saying anyway. We're going to discuss further the brilliant stuff that are coming. Bricky admitting he's woke, shocking. But like I've said, yeah, when I watch him, I never got that. But once again, he says that if you really watch his content, that will be clear. Once again, I did watch only what I'm interested in, so I didn't get that, didn't see it. Laszlo Pewitt? Bricky in a CIA moment here. Either that or the hobby means nothing and was a grift all along. Grift or drift? I'm not sure. Do you mean gift? I'm not sure about that. Sorry. Didn't Bricky say he's against female space marines? I'm not sure. Yeah, and had you as well. I'm not sure if he did. I've never seen that. And Matthew, great to catch you live. Thank you. So I'm happy that you're here. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, guys, about having so much issue sometimes reading your names, but they're really, really tricky, especially coming from my own language. PH Hello Greenskin. Oh, okay. Although the emperor was Alexander the Great. Yeah, he was many people in history that actually have a name and build a name for themselves that makes sense for the emperor, really. And he can make us see him the way that he wants to be seen, which we can also see in the story The Last Church when he presented himself to this poor priest pretty much as a god and then proceeded to explain how there are no gods, which is also actually explained later on in the lore that he really perceived that the gods of chaos are not gods because they're really high level demons in the ways that they're written. And that's something that Dan Abnett also said, something that I did discuss before a year ago when I was dissecting some of the meanings of the 40k. Yeah, that's another topic, guys. But yeah. Laszlo said, if GW came out tomorrow and said the Lucifer blacks were all Aldari hybrids, I would just as against that change as I am against female custodes. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that's gonna be weird as well. Alexander loved both men and women. Ah, that's what you mean. Yeah, you can say that. Interesting. I gotta watch gotta watch Metatron. I think he did a video about that. But even if that is the case, no explicit thing was ever said about the emperor having any preferences towards men or women. So I don't know about that. I mean, I never saw it in the lore, but of course, if he was Alexander the Great, and if we go by our own real history, yeah, you can say that. But then again, if you're not going by our own history, then no. But we have no confirmation if we should go by our own history or not, or just take some, pieces from it. You can say yes, we should, but even if that is the case, like I've said before, this would just mean that the emperor is bisexual, and that's really nothing, because it's not the focus on the story. That is something that I don't think that anyone even thought about when they just wrote famous people that he could be in history. They didn't thought about their sexuality at all, because a story focus should not have this as a focus, anyone's sexuality. That should never be the freaking focus anyway. So even if you know this and you make the connection, oh, this means that the emperor is bisexual, oh, fine. But he was always and always going to be the manliest man that we can imagine. And the chattest chat, for sure. It's just his nature, just how he is. Although he's not always right. Okay. Pretty much all YouTube content creators rolled over, nobody of them care. And had you pure tight engram? Well, that's not exactly the case. I mean, there's a lot of people like Endymion and Yellow Flash and other people actually that I'm pretty sure never heard of Warhammer. But they did talk about this against the change, because they understand the nature of the change even if they don't know everything about Warhammer. So yeah, I watched a lot that were against this, just on a matter of principle, because we all understand the principle and when that principle is broken. Oh, Vasaka is here as well. Okay, hold on. Dream says, including discourse minis? They already queered the emperor in a subtle way. No one really caught on to it though. I mean, that's kind of the good thing. Nobody really paid that attention, because really, once again, guys, his sexuality really does not matter at all, because it's not written. I mean, it's not written a story where he had a woman and did whatever, or he had a man or did whatever. That's not the nature of Warhammer. Even when we have Slaanesh, you know what she is capable of. We know her nature, and that she is she and he is he. I mean, she is everything. She is he. Oh my gosh. Even if you know Slaanesh, I mean, Slaanesh is an expression of all of those things, combined, and a lot worse, and a lot worse, and a lot worse. But here's the thing, guys. 40k never concentrates on that. That's never like the focal point. You know that Slaanesh is horrible, and what he or she is doing to the Eldari, to the whole universe, her role in chaos, whatever. But you do not get a sex freaking scene every 5 seconds because Slaanesh is there and she exists, and you have to explain everything that she or he does explicitly to our faces all the time. That's not there. You know what this god is capable of, you know what her disciples are doing, but you don't ever get to be in your face. That's it. And when you do that, because we were also talking about this with my friend Kit the other day, we did a stream together, a podcast, and he's like, how are you going to show this on screen? And I'm like, you don't have to actually show every depravity on screen. You have to mention it, of course, to know the nature of the character. Like I just said, you don't need to see something all the time. You need to have a good storytelling to understand the nature of a particular character or a creature or whatever, and that's enough. You don't need to put this in your face and focus on that, because the story is a lot more interesting, how Slaaneshy is as a player on the chessboard of chaos. That's the point. That's more interesting. It's not her nature. I mean, her nature is what she's freaking is, or he. But in the same way, Nurgle, and he has disgusting ways of doing things. He has plagues, and you see that when it's time to see that. You see how he's changed his armies, and they're disgusting and flies everywhere. And, I don't want to say a lot of words that could affect this video, because this is YouTube. Yeah, the point is that that's never like the focus. It's what the effect, like the overall impact of what he is doing, that's the issue. Like, for example, in one of the last books with Gilliman, you see how Mortarion is all up his his own ass and all up of Nurgle's ass, how he is basically a servant, and the godblight was invented, and he wanted to poison his brother. So the only thing that you really need to know is the nature of a particular character and what they can do, how they can do it, and the focus on the story is going to be between the interactions of the character and some of the things that are happening. But it's not going to be like in Spartacus, the show, where every 5 seconds you see something absolutely disgusting, horrible on the screen, and that horrible thing on the screen is stretched in like 5, 10, like I don't know how many seconds, but a ton. And then this is like in front of your eyes for the rest of the day. Because some of the things in Spartacus did that, including some gay scenes as well. Just a normal camera just walking and just walking, like just goes through these cages in this prison, and all of a sudden it's like, what is that? You just don't expect it, and it's like the shock value, and it's the absolutely deprived way of showing something, put something into your eyes just to be like, oh, shock, be shocked, be shocked. Oh, okay, I'm shocked, it's disgusting. What about the story? No, look at this, it's shocking, it's disgusting. Um, yes, can we not be so disturbed all the time and just focus on the story? No, just watch this. Oh, next scene is this guy guts coming out, like in slow motion. Okay? So yeah, Warhammer is not that. That's what I want to say. Yeah, Warhammer is not that. It's the opposite of that. It's a lot more about the character's depth and the character's growth, and and then the battles, because the battles are great, and they're a reflection of what's happening with the characters and with the whole lore as a story, how the whole lore is moving forward, and all those things. So 40k to me is one of like the purest lore universes, because despite the fact that everything's so grim dark, actually those depravities are not in your face and they're not the focus. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Sorry that it took me so long to say it. So I'm gonna continue with your comments real quick and then continue with the video, because we have more to go and this stream is gonna become very, very long. So okay, let me catch up. Nothing against custodies women, just how GW did it. Yeah, Pasak in general, if custodies women were there from the very beginning, that's great, but they weren't. It's just that they've always been there. The end is stupidly lazy and bad. Yes, exactly. Matthew, looking beautiful as ever. I love your hair. Oh, thanks, Matthew. Thank you. That's a great compliment. Thank you. I appreciate it. You see, I'm not calling you all of a sudden, oh no, a compliment. Oh, how can a man do this? Oh, it's bad. No, I'm not crazy. I really thank you for the compliment. Like, normal people. So, Ben Runsiman, sorry guys, really, for my pronunciation. So glad I'm not alone with being against this retcon. No, you're definitely not alone. You're definitely not. The real official amazing Adam says, hi everyone. Hi to you. Hi to you, the real official amazing Adam. That's a super freaking name. That's great. Johnny Bugatti says Alexander the Great was straight. Okay, that's why I said that I have something in my back of my mind about some things in history. That's why I said I have to watch Metatron, because I'm sure that he had a video about that. Just slipped my mind to be exactly sure what the evidence say. Okay. Johnny, no, there's many historical accounts of Alexander's preferences. Metatron goes over them. So this is what. So really, he did. Why do I have some kind of a doubt about that? Maybe I started watching a Metatron video. I don't know, really, guys. I think I clicked on one about Alexander, but that was weeks ago, and I think I didn't finish watching it. I have to do that. Okay, we still have Arch. Of course, Arch is here, and he'll always be against these things. And how to as well. CJVX10A. Michael says, it one thing if a Sister of Silence. Is one thing if Sisters of Silence was so trusted. She was given the power armor of a Guardian Space Marine. You mean? Spare or Guardian Spare? I can see that being reasonable. Now that's something totally different. Yeah, of course. I mean, Sisters of Battle already have battle armors. I've seen that on the tabletop. Haven't seen it yet recreated in animation or anything, but I've seen that. So they can be more powerful if you give them more like an exosuit armor. That's fine. It's gonna be beneficial to the army. It makes sense in that way. Mark Williams says the Emperor did briefly appear as a woman when confronted Horus during the novel The Solar War. I never seen that, Mark. The Emperor can be whatever he wants, even if that's the case, and I have to check that. Where exactly does it say it? Because once again, when people read something, you think, you can make some wrong conclusions if it's like straightly said that is so. That's different. But once again, guys, the Emperor's power is mostly like kind of like actually Endymion explained it. He's like Xavier, and that is also how I thought about his power, that he can make you perceive him in a lot of different ways to serve his purposes. But that doesn't mean that he's a woman, you know? That doesn't mean that he's a woman. He can make you see him as a mouse, probably, because he's a powerful psyker. If that serves his purposes, he will do it. But he has always been a man and presented as a man all of the other time, except this story, because I really haven't read that. But just like as I said with the Mystique example, she can make herself into a man, but she's still a woman, and she identifies as a woman. I think they made her bi like lately, not sure, but she's still a woman. So there's that. Okay, from my understanding, Emperor, due to his unprecedented psychic power, can appear as whoever or whatever he likes at the moment. So yeah, yeah, yeah. But as I discussed it in the previous stream, this writer that thought that the Emperor was like genderqueer just came out with these conclusions without any basis whatsoever, because it's not a base if he can just make you see him in different forms. That's not the basis to say that he's genderqueer. What does his gender has to do with his ability to make himself into anything or anyone? Really doesn't make any sense. If I had this ability to all of a sudden look like a man to someone for a joke or something, I don't know. I don't know. It depends on the context, but the point is, I would still feel like a freaking girl. That is it. That will not change my all of a sudden my how I feel about myself, being a girl. Jesus. Okay. If they make these arbitrary characteristic, they keep changing with these characters, all they focus on, then that is very hollow personality. And especially, guys, always when you're in doubt of something, whether that something should exist or not and should be put in the lore or not, you have to ask yourself the question, why is this here? What does it do? How does it add to the lore? Does it make it better? Really? How is this better? Ask yourself that. How is this better? Because if you can't answer the question, if you can't say how is it better, maybe it really does not make sense and it's not better. Okay. Put the bunny back in the box. Wow, amazing name again. Says, if after everything the GW has done to the fans, this is what broke their backs, that tells me that this boils down to insecure men who hate and don't want women in their boys club. Pathetic. No, no, actually, absolutely no. I mean, once again, there are guys that really, really don't care about women being in the hobby. Of course, that there are such guys. Of course, that there are guys that are sexist about whatever or sexist in general. There's still such guys in my country, like I said. There's still such guys somewhere. But to me, and I'm a girl, you know, when I hear about, changing anyone's gender to fit a particular idea and not for like the greater good of the lore of the story, just doesn't make any sense. So it's not about the gender, it's about the change itself. That the change itself does not bring any value and does not make any sense. That's the thing. And that makes it forced. It literally makes it forced. It does not make it genuine, does not make it seamless. It makes it forced. That's the problem. Breaking of a principle of how you break already something that is established in a concrete way. In a concrete way, we know that the custodies are men. That is it. That's the fact. We know that. So all of a sudden, we have to now know that they're not only men. It just very it just not only it's weird, it's out of place. So it's not about the particular gender, it's about that change has been made that brought the whole established lore and the nature of this certain faction, just brought it to a like a new level that does not mean anything, this level. So as some of you actually said before in my first stream about this, why just not make now Brothers of Noise or something? Just put them in Sisters of Battle, just Brothers of Noise, or I mean Sisters of Silence. Just going to be hilarious. But still, that devalues makes I mean it makes everything making no sense, and doesn't matter then what you do, and it becomes this chaotic nature that you can absolutely change anything that is already established and do whatever. And when you do whatever, why do we even care about anything in the lore at all? Why Sisters of Battle are sisters? Let's just call them brothers. What is this chaos then that is happening here? I don't know why. Okay, when I'm dealing with the comments, guys, I'm gonna be here for hours and hours, so I can't read all the comments. We got to get through the video. Really, Matthew, that's interesting. I'm trying to like read it for myself real quick. Fabio's buyout thing, I talked about that. Okay, the Primaris Marines is another topic, really. I mean, because they're addition to the lore, they're not a retcon. You still have the original Marines. The Primaris, I know that it's different when you play the tabletop, but the Primaris in the lore serve a function. They are basically stronger Astartes that can kick butt more than regular Astartes, and given that the Tyranids and all the other forces that genuinely and generally wants to attack the Imperium, to have stronger soldiers of any kind is a logical inclusion in the army in general. So it makes sense that, such thing can happen, just makes sense. Gilliman is alone, and he was alone until now. He had to make executive decisions. So if Fabius Bell has the knowledge and talents to improve the Space Marines, which actually is going to prolong their life, because as we know, Dante also crossed the Rubicon and he's a Primaris, that gives new life to his character, and that extends his service to the Imperium. So you can still like the old and the new, but the new really, actually, in actuality, does something good for the lore and everyone else included. Yes, it's a move from GW to get more money out of people that's playing the tabletop. because they're like, oh, get the new armies, get the, the Primaris. That's clear. But at least in the lore, they serve a purpose. They're not just there, not doing anything. They're kicking ass. They're taking names, so to speak. They are supplementing the original authorities. They are helping. So that's the Primaris purpose. It is thought out, and it makes sense. Whereas female custodes, they did not thought this through, and they don't make sense. So there, forced female custodes. I mean, forced basically, but integrate in the lore with reason, Primaris, and not a retcon, but an addition to the lore. Okay, I will continue with Bricky, guys, because we don't really have
such
time.
like a vibe, such like an aesthetic that I kind of want that aesthetic to be maintained with the sisters. And that seems easy, you know. You're gonna turn a gigantic demigod war person, individual, whatever, guy or girl. They're gonna end up looking the same. They're big dudes or gals in armor that die for the emperor.
Okay, so if they die for the emperor, that doesn't mean that they don't matter, you know. But the thing is, guys, that when you get female custodes in the lore and they are not present anywhere in the lore, that means that you are already making them less valuable than male custodes. So it does not do them any service because they do not exist anywhere in the lore. No notable female custody ever interacted with the Primarch, with the Emperor, with anyone worth noting. We just have this first custody that she did this blood games, and okay, that was actually not a bad story, and he's going to also mention that it's not a bad story. That's not the point. The story is fine by itself. The point is that GW have to like write a lot about female custodies if they really want to present them in the lore in equal measure as the male custodies, because we have multiple figures in the male custodies ranks, whereas of course female we don't, because they were never here. That's the irony of it. So if GW wants to make make like justice, or I don't know how was the expression, make better this whole thing, they have to write a ton about female custodies and give examples. So where did a female custody did anything? Because it turns out that only male custodies did something, and only male custodies have name for themselves, made a name for themselves, and only they actually did something that matters. And female custodies were just there and fighting like everyone else are fighting in the big battles, and for Terra, and stand like this for thousands of years in the Emperor's palace and so on. So yeah.
If anything, it's the most type of equality we can get in 40k. Everyone can be meat ground up under the hammer and anvil of the ecclesiarchy and the imperial industry. Games Workshop.
Yeah, of course, men and women can be meat. Of course, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's that's how it is. Yes.
Pulling this randomly out of their ass is a terrible move. Agreed, actually.
Oh, actually, he's agreeing with this at least.
This is one of those things I do agree with. Despite everything here, despite me genuinely not caring and being like, cool, we got female custodians, awesome, thumbs up. How they pulled this off is the worst thing I could have imagined them doing. Granted, the actual short story in the codex is kind of cool. The gal is doing.
So it's just interesting that he can acknowledge that it's the worst thing that they could have done, and at the same time he doesn't care.
This kind of the blood games, basically. You try to assassinate the emperor, and she stole like a nuke and bribed a bunch of people to teleport the nuke into the throne world, into the throne room with the emperor to be like, look how I did it, because that's the blood games. It's trying to assassinate the emperor to fix holes in security and that kind of thing. It was actually a pretty cool story. She's kind of a baller. But the way they did it is terrible. Yeah, they decided to shit out like the worst codex I've seen in 3 editions and just stick it randomly in 3 paragraphs, like a page worth of it, and just kind of change. It's almost like they went through the editor and just added an S to all of the he's as part of it and basically called it there. and then take to Twitter and then pull some like this was always the case. Like GW, they've done this all the time. They've always done this where they're like, because that's the idea, right? Is that's the
Well, I never seen such a case like this one. Exactly like this one. So I don't know when they were always doing this, exactly this.
reliable narrator. The Imperium is the main narrator of the 41st millennium. So whenever you're reading shit, it normally is from the view of the Imperium, so that whenever something is retconned, it's not actually retconned. It's new information has now been provided, or it was always this way, but for some reason it was kept under wraps because
I mean, that's possible. That did happen, like we explained before. It's just that you can't use this excuse this time for this in particular. You just can't.
Propaganda, totalitarianism, yada yada, the usual kind of thing. But yeah, like it does kind of feel like they were trying to be passive progressive, take one foot on one side and one foot in the other. We're like, well, we want to do this thing, but we don't want to do it too hard.
Actually, this is what he's doing here. He's putting one of his foot on the other side, saying, oh, you know, this is stupid by GW, and then the other foot on this side and being like, oh, but I don't care, so it doesn't matter, it doesn't affect anything or anyone, so who cares?
So we'll just throw a couple S's in there, make a tweet, and then just call it. And it's really just kind of like, if you're gonna do it, come like at least go full hog, you know, have like a damn book or like a real full story, release some minis.
And actually, you know, whenever I read a 40K novel, there was never like, I'm reading it and it's just like, oh, propaganda stuff, and it's quite the opposite. I mean, the story is just told, and then you see the characters talking to each other, and everything is understandable. I mean, depending on the author, actually. I do not like all the authors from the 40K universe. Some write a bit more in a convoluted way than others, let's say, but it was never like, you know, hitting me in the face like propaganda stuff and you know, it's just interaction, story. There's a character, he's talking to this character. It's explain what the heck is happening. Like, I still remember the Fulgrim book, how that was written. It was pretty amazing. Like, you get an idea of who Fulgrim is and his nature of expression and how he likes art and how he's a bit pretentious, not a bit but a lot, and you just get stuff and how other people see him as well. Just interesting. So I never got this from the 40K, how other people make it out to be like the politics and the propaganda, and I hate politics and propaganda, and that was the case, like so in your face. I would never like this.
Or something, you know, some alternate, like even a kit upgrade, for God's sakes. They did it with like guardsmen, you know, a bunch of different heads and stuff like that. Like, if you're gonna do it, like at least put your nuts out and actually like have some balls for it, you know? If you're gonna make that kind of stuff, don't be all like passive about it. This has the same feeling that Disney does, where they like edit out gay scenes.
Well, you can also have balls, Bricky, and you know, maybe say that you care about the universe, and you know, and not say that you don't care about the universe, and then do whatever you want, and like
for like Russia and China, because it's like, oh, we want to be progressive, but not if it affects the bottom line. Like, we can't do it for the areas that don't like that stuff. It's,
well, that's another topic. Yeah,
it's so I don't know. They could have handled it in such a better way. That I'm fully in agree with. They could have handled it way better. But
well, yeah, I don't know how genuine, you know, I can perceive this after he's saying that. Yeah, he's agreeing that this is not good, but at the same time, do whatever you want. So yeah, that's just what I mean. I just can't take it as genuine, and he is trying to present it as being.
But at the same time, nothing's different. Games Workshop randomly pulling shit out of their ass is a commonplace thing for GW. And there is nothing that is abnormal about that. They do it all the time. So, you know, there's the...
Yeah, it's just the amount of, I mean, the extent of to what they're doing to and what exactly they're doing, because each and every case has its own context behind it, and not all of it is bad as this. I mean, for me, pulling stuff out of their butts is their animation, because, you know, they're just taking stories from every corner of the 40k universe, not doing anything of the main storyline whatsoever, and just put random stuff out there in animation that I don't know how many people actually care about these things. I mean, they're interesting to me and fascinating still, but to miss like the main points, the what makes 40k, the cohesiveness of the story, the Imperium, the Emperor, the gods, and all that. This is totally missed, totally overlooked, totally not non-existing in their animation still. They're just here's a bit of the Tau, and here's a bit of the Imperial Knights, like in the latest animation, and here's just this animation about the Blood Angels. That's good, okay, great. Blood Angels, where is the Astartes projects, by the way? Where is Sayama Pedersen? Someone? Where is that? Nobody knows. So no cohesion of anything, just random episodes. Also from the Warhammer Fantasy, random episodes, just something from the universe. So it's just some random character that's kind of funny, and you see this short story, and that's it.
I really like this one. I've been seeing this one a lot. This is the same thing that happened to Star Wars, and the same it's going to go the same direction that Star Wars went, like downhill and stuff. This one always gets me because it's a complete lack of understanding the difference between correlation and causation. Star Wars went downhill because the writing was dog. He was extremely dog, and the handling of the entire IP was terrible. Had nothing to do with having inclusivity or anything as part of it. It went down because it sucked. Because it sucked.
Yeah, basically, yeah, Star Wars, that's another topic, but yeah, I mean, they did a lot of things wrong with the inclusive stuff as well, but yeah, with the writing as well, with the whole nature of Star Wars, they totally missed the point. Yeah, that's the case.
Um, sorry. But clearly, like there are good parts of the modern Star Wars. This is the reason I didn't want to talk about Andor when I watched it, because it's that same group, like people.
Well, I haven't watched Andor.
Attribute to the lack of decent Star Wars content as something involving exclusivity and all that, when in reality the stuff just is crap. But Andor was really, really good, right? So like when you watch Andor, like holy hell, this is fantastic, it's great stuff, and it's a complete misunderstanding. Like don't worry, Games Workshop already has bad writing. It's there, don't worry. Adding exclusivity isn't changing anything about that.
Okay, I never perceived that GW has bad writing, actually. I think GW has pretty amazing authors right there. And everything that I have read personally, of course, I can't read all the books. There, only the Horus Heresy has like over 50 books, I think, by this point. But yeah, I'm reading the most relevant ones. And I did my best to catch up with everything that I can possibly catch up with. But yeah, I never thought in my life that GW had bad writing. I don't know how that came up as a thing.
It's still crap, but like usual things when it comes to Games Workshop, it's the highest highs and the lowest lows. For every crap new novel or lore piece we get a lion son of the forest, and then you could just get like the best novel you've read in forever. So
well, I don't know, guys. I mean that was not one of my favorites. I would point out others, like the Belisarius Cole versus Fabius Bow. That was better for me. So the fact that it has a Primarch cannon does not make it better. It was good, but just not as interesting and fascinating as that other one with Fabius Bow and Belisarius Cole. So there's that. But yeah, I don't think that I kind of feel that this is a false claim that GW has bad writing. I really do. I mean, for sure, some books may and are worse than others, but that doesn't mean they have overall bad writing. That never struck me when I think about GW at all. Oh, Bigalomeo is here. Hey, hi dude, hi to you. I'm so happy to see you. I didn't like a third of the Horus Heresy. Was tedious and unrewarding. The latest books, the last 3 books, or the third book, The End of the Death Part 3. What do you mean? You gotta know. You gotta tell me.
No, that's the complete misunderstanding of correlation and causation. All right, and so like just to round this all out, and I think this is the reason why I'm so chuffed or just tired with it all, is because I never bring up Warhammer and stuff when I talk with other folks for the most part. You know, despite it seeming like I'm the lore guy, whatever the hell, sometimes, you know, Adric and that kind of thing. I don't actually bring this up with anyone. I never actually talk about Warhammer outside of this whole thing because well, unless asked to, there's such a nasty vocal minority in that community that kind of calling myself a fan of it naturally brings in ire from other folks. It's so embarrassing, right?
Okay, this is where I really hit a wall with Bricky. The way that he says this, it's so embarrassing. Like you wanna say that people that actually have a problem with this are just a small vocal minority. To have this huge bomb this last few days, to have so many outlets actually cover this, I don't think that we are a small minority, and this is so embarrassing. It's a lot more embarrassing if you don't have a backbone, and if you don't have like a moral compass about the things that you love, and you just open your butt cheeks and say, yeah, just do whatever. I agree with everything. Just have no principles at all of some of the things that you actually love. So I don't know what is more. I mean, yeah, what is embarrassing here that we have principles? We have principles. We actually respect the IP that we love. We care for it. So that's why it's embarrassing. Okay.
Right now, it's genuinely embarrassing to be a fan of Warhammer and like looking on the online discourse. And it's particularly upsetting because
Well, I never felt for a second being embarrassed um, by being a fan of Warhammer because I mean, whatever, every freaking universe has fan base, and every freaking universe has some fans that cannot think critically and they just agree with everything or whatever. That does not affect my experience with the universe itself. I can love Star Wars, for example. I'm not that big of a fan by this point, especially, but I don't care about what other people would think. Wow, you're a fan of Star Wars? Like what? That never happened to me about anything. So I can say I'm a fan of this and that, and what? It's my thing. Who cares about somebody else not liking it? I mean, I like it. I find something that serves me and, makes me feel happy in some kind of a way to experience it, to think about it, to put some literal critical thought in it, to gain some entertaining value from it. I mean, that's my prerogative. I don't care about. So why do you have to spin things this way? And I do not feel embarrassed by other people's actions, so to speak, in this case, that are supporting the change and say that it's because men are sexist, because well, I'm not sexist at all, and I'm a girl, and I do not need female characters that are pushed in, shoved in a very bad way, not in the good way, but in the bad way. I don't need that in order for me to feel included in anything. I can be a fan of a male character like I've always been a male fan of a male character, and that's it. And I can be the same way with the female character. To me, the most important is if that character is written well, is that character interesting, compelling in some kind of a way. I don't need to be them to identify with what they're going through because I'm also a human being. Is that crazy? Like, what these days is like, if I don't see myself represented in whatever, I will not feel anything about this or that movie or a show. Well, by that logic, where is my Bulgarian girl with blue eyes represented in an American movie? By that logic, I will not watch anything then. Anything at all. Because there are no Bulgarian, girls with blue eyes from Bulgaria represented in the movie. No, except maybe for our Bulgarian actress that was in Borat. And she's Marvel as well, and so on. But she still does not look like me. We're still different people. So why would I want that specifically in order for me to enjoy anything? That's stupid. I mean, I was a fan of Conan the Barbarian for the longest time, And then I saw Xena and I was like, wow, amazing. I love her. And then, I love, of course, Conan as well, but for different reasons. One does not contradict the other. They both can coexist and be awesome separately. Yeah.
I'm forced to look at it. I'm forced to visualize this, knowing full well it's just not indicative of the general community and the general community mindset. Twitter has decided to monetize its own platform to
So you want to say that everyone agrees and, more people agree with this than not?
the point where those that would give Twitter money will have their responses pushed up to the top. And so in any conversation like this, if every single blue check mark is whining and whinging and womp womp, but then right after you get past all that stuff, it's generally either in support or...
Well, I don't have a blue check mark. Oh, here you go. I don't have. Oh, Xena was my childhood, Sir Brastion. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, Xena. I can talk about Xena like, endlessly, basically. But she's just a perfect example of how you do a very strong female character without diminishing anyone else. Just make her have trials and tribulations, character growth. Yes, being amazing and conquering stuff, but doing it in a very logical way and having reasons for all of the things that she's doing and having such a challenges throughout her way, just like any hero, but having to relinquish evil to be good and having this redemption path is just amazing. So why don't we have that? And we have uh, women that want to present as a man and act like a man, but then hate men in the same lane and detest men. That how is this good and how is this making sense at all?
indifference. See, unlike everyone there, I actually play Warhammer. I go out and go to play games with other individuals. I attend tournaments. I meet lots of people with that. And nobody cares. The loudest and most commonplace voice is, oh, cool. All right. And that's it.
Well, that's not a very good representation of how people actually feel because how many people you can actually play the tabletop game with? There are not many people that you can get around the table. And second, yeah, maybe those people really don't care. That doesn't mean that the majority of fans don't care because, when Warhammer gets especially mainstream, when the TV shows come out, most of the people will not have any idea of the tabletop game. They're just going to learn about the lore, whatever they're interested in, but it's going to be about the lore. It's not really going to be about the tabletop itself. And then you have opinions all over the places for different people just based on the lore. And that's it. So playing with people that decide to not have an opinion about things because they're not invested in that way, they're invested just in the game itself as a game and rules and all of that. That's just totally different fan bases, you can say. Sometimes they're not, sometimes they're one and the same, but sometimes people are just invested in a tabletop and they don't really care about the animations and the TV shows and all of that. So you're talking about different fan bases altogether.
Because I'd argue a good majority of the people who actually do play this game don't treat it like it's some kind of infallible product. We view it as it is: goofy, high fantasy, model toy soldier game.
When it was goofy, I never got that 40K is goofy, like quite the opposites of goofy. I mean, you can make goofy stuff with it, of course, like my parodies, my own parodies, but when it was like really goofy, it never came across as goofy to me.
We have undead Egyptian robot skeletons that have come back to life after fighting in a war with gods that eat stars, and they are equally matched against the English football hooligan orcs that, through the power of their imagination, create vehicles. But having a separate gender in the custodians is where we draw the line.
Oh, Bricky, sorry. That argument falls flat on its face very easily. So, yeah, it's a fictional universe with amazing stuff happening in it that are not related to the real world that we live in at all. And then you're comparing that to retconning the lore and breaking of a principle because you are giving, the point to the gender thing. But actually, if we were talking about something else that changed and it broke the lore, something that was already established in a concrete way, then we're not going to be talking about gender, we're just going to be talking about something else. But the principle that is broken is absolutely the same. So it doesn't matter if it's a gender thing or whatever thing, it matters that the principle has been broken. That's the thing. So the fact that something is fictional does not mean that it does not hold any meaning to us. And that is why I say that Bricky is contradicting himself and he comes across very disingenuous, because in the same lane he will now say that the 40k is absolutely amazing and it's nothing like it, but just a few seconds before that he is saying this, that why do we care? We are talking about things that do not exist. Ha ha ha. Well, it's because those things are cool. They're cool. And even there's moral of the story, even if you look at the Necrons, yeah, the orcs are a stupider faction, and in order for them to compare to the Necrons in the tabletop, they have to have other abilities, but that takes mind, that takes some intelligence to think those things through, you know? So it's not like no effort is put into the ideas behind those factions and how they work. I mean, how they fight together on the tabletop and in the lore and in general. A lot of thought is put into those things to make them work somehow. That is human labor and human art to an extent. You cannot just dismiss it completely and say nothing matters then, because if on the tabletop something does not make sense when you play, you immediately see that and it's going to stick like a sore thumb, and that's going to ruin the game. That's going to ruin your experience, your involvement into it. You will feel like you're doing nothing. You will feel like there's, that there's not, that whatever you're doing does not have any whatsoever sense to it, to do it, to even spend the time on it. If it doesn't give you actually something that is cohesive, something of a substance, and in this case, the substance is going to be some kind of a making sense, so it's going to be fun. It's not only it's not going to be always about any type of deeper meaning, but it still has to have something behind it for you to feel like you're not losing totally your time. It has to be fun and make it make sense. So you can't just dismiss something because it's not real and it's fictional. Because then again, why don't we dismiss every fictional thing ever?
Games Workshop will go out and retcon everything under the sun, and there's not a peep made. But then you swap that over. You have gay characters, trans characters, non-binary, all these other things.
Where is the gay character in 40k? I mean, really, like openly in the books, written down there in black and white. Where is that? I just wanna see that. I mean, where is that? If somebody can tell me exactly where it is, I will read that and check for myself. But yeah, the point is, guys, that to use this argument, and I've seen this argument used many, many times, to dismiss something just because it's not real, it's just a straw man. It's just not fair. A lot of people make their lives meaning by being inspired by a particular universe, working towards it, like to work for it. Like if you are inspired to work with GW, if you're a writer, you want to become a writer, that's going to determine your whole life, that fictional thing, you know? So if that fictional thing quality falls down and now becomes a bad written fictional thing, you will not even have a drive to continue it. You just change your life because you're going to just switch to something else. So the quality of everything that we love, that is entertainment, does freaking matter to our perception of the world and how we think too. That too, because we all know how those things can be used against us as well. Yeah.
large amounts of ethnic inclusivity. And this is where the line is drawn. It's nothing. It matters nothing, and it affects nobody.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Like we said, we already talked about that. Why this is not true. So, continuing.
I sit here with the actual stuff that really causes issues for the consumer. Genuine things like scalpers taking every single one of Games Workshop's boxes.
That's another problem. I mean, you can divert attention to something else that is totally different and say this is the only problem. So the fact that that's the problem, that there are scalpers, does not mean that this here is not a problem now. This is totally different things. You know, it's kind of like my friends, my girlfriends, ex-girlfriends. They used to say, "Oh, my boyfriend is," for example, my boyfriend, he is very bad in this or that. A horrible person, really, a true life story. He did a horrible thing, whatever. But, but, it's not that bad because nobody is perfect. Okay. So because nobody is perfect, and yes, that is a fact. Nobody is perfect. Um, Whatever your boyfriend did is justified. And you can imagine a lot of bad things, whatever that is. It's justified because nobody is perfect, whereas other people that are decent and have some morals and, you know, dignity, integrity, all of that, also not perfect, but they have all of those qualities. They are like on the same level as this person who has not who does not have any morals, principles, whatever. They're just the same because nobody is perfect. What is this? What is this argument? You know, the fact that something is a problem doesn't mean that the other thing right there is not also a problem.
And them doing nothing about it whatsoever. At the same time, seeing a news thread buried to the bottom about war in Iran. And this is the thing. I'm so tired. It puts me in just the worst position because whenever I want to talk to people to actually get into the hobby, because despite all of the wackiness of this world, there's something for everyone, right? There's a faction for everyone. Someone will really click with one of the 20 or so factions this.
Okay, well, I'm a girl, so I click with a lot of the factions, mainly the custodes. Oh, what a shocker! I click with the guys. Ha! Ho! Yeah, probably nobody will say that. I click with these guys. That's why I love to paint these guys. I love to paint these exact guys. Now I have Sisters of Silence, by the way, because of the next set that my dear friend Sir D was so kind to gift me. But I will freaking paint custodes if I have the time to finish them. I mean, they're my favorite faction. I click with them. They do not have to be a female for me to do that, not even a little bit.
Game has. They'll find that spot. And it's just really fun to see them get into it and get painting and have a great time. And then if you type in Warhammer on any social media, this is what comes up. And how embarrassing it is for someone like me who wants to bring folks into the hobby, who want them to get excited and show off their stuff and play with other people, and then walking into the room like the guy with the pizza and the flames everywhere. I was never going to talk about this in a video. I was going to make this tiny little skit in the Adric episode that's airing tomorrow and kind of poke the stick a little bit and call it a day. But you know, I was replaying Armored Core 6, and there's that line that Cinder Carla says, where she's like, it's good to make a choice. If you sit on the fence, you make no enemies or friends. And I do a lot of fence sitting in my time, no doubt. I like to not rock the boat too much. I keep a nice, calm, clean community with myself and my viewers and make it all nice and simple. But at some point I had to think, is staying silent an accidental admission of agreement? Are people going to look at me and think that I'm with these people?
With these people, such a disgust in his voice. Oh my gosh. Well, you can stay there and embarrassed in your own corner if you like.
And I can't have that. I just can't. It's such a unique and special universe. There's nothing like it.
Oh, now it's special and unique universe. There's nothing like it. You see, that is what I was referring to.
And I want folks to understand that they are in good hands if they want to join. And you know, by time.
So I'm in good hands. But no, I'm one of these people now. So, yeah, I'm in my own bad hands, I guess. Ridiculous.
I'm chatting with other VTuber folks as of recently, specifically, like them getting into Warhammer and then learning of the universe, and you know, especially for them and for all the other women out there who are interested in the hobby and want to get a part of it. I promise you, I genuinely promise you, the real life folks, it's very, very different. They are.
Oh, don't worry, I did not fall upon any bad guy that did not want me into the lore. You know, from time to time there's some guys that don't get me, but that's rare. And most people that don't get me, they're just not gonna watch me anyway. Some guy complained that I call myself the Empress. What the irony and so on. It's like I want to gender switch the Emperor. No, that's just not the case. Actually, you guys, my viewers, decided to pick this name for me, so to speak, like an image thing. And it's not about taking the Emperor. It's just about my own image and stuff. That's it. It's not about taking anything from the Emperor. The Emperor is going to be the Emperor. I cannot touch the Emperor. I'm a real person. He's not. I don't want to take anything away from him. This is just about my image here as a girl, because there are not many girls, I mean, that love 40K and love it for what it is, and are content creators as well. So that is why you guys offered me this and called me this before I called myself this. So I was like, that's fine. I mean, I like it. I like it a lot. It's fun. So that's it. But it was never my intention to do anything of what I was accused of doing. It's the irony. Oh my gosh, I want to gender switch the Emperor. Jesus Christ, no.
Very accepting, and they will welcome you into the hobby with open arms. Honest to God, some of the best painters I've ever seen are women in the hobby. And I mean, for who knows
great, I want to get to know them.
what reason, girls are often very, very creative. But I actually do see some of the similarities with it and like makeup, you know. I was like, oh, we put the foundation with the base coat, you add the contour.
What the contour, the base coat, what? I mean, you know, I do my own makeup and stuff, but I cannot apply this terminology to the custodes, really. Of course, there's a base coat and everything, but like contour, like what is this? I'm using painting words, because I'm also an artist anyway. I just never painted figures before I painted the custodes, but you know, highlights and whatever people use for painting in general, like I've always done. I cannot connect my makeup with painting figures or action figures, actually, for that matter. I'm also doing this. So this is more of like Bricky being Texas here, actually, because what he thinks that girls are only connecting what they're doing to their own faces to what they can do to a figure. You know, when you're an artist, you don't think about your gender. You're just an artist. You're just drawing things, painting things. It's not like, oh my god, a foundation. No, it's called the base coat. It's called the base coat. And after the base coat, I'm putting the other golden paint, and then a bit of a silver on the shoulder pads, and here blue for the blade, and some little flashes like to represent the energy of the blade. I mean, words that guys and girls would use. So I don't get that with the. I kind of think that he just was just saying that, and he tries to imagine how women will be in the lore, just talking about their makeup all the time. I never even, like, it doesn't even come to my mind in a daily life to talk about my makeup. I mean, I'm getting into a store. That's a real story. And the cashier is like, oh my gosh, your makeup is amazing. What eyes? How did you do that? I'm like, well, I just take, the eyeliner and I do this. And that's a bit of a eyeshadow. And that is it. It's just one layer of it. It's nothing. And she's like, wow. So that is it. That is it. The extent, everything else is like it always has been. Paints and the glue for the miniatures and all of that. Like, wow, what the base and coat and Jesus Christ, man.
The shadows and the edge highlights and the highlights, and it's like, I guess it makes sense. But God, some of the stuff that
It really doesn't.
they put out is insanely talented, far better than me. And to them not wanting to get into it because they
Sure, some girls may be more talented than him. Some guys may be more talented than the girls and vice versa. It's everyone is freaking individual in their artistic talents, of course.
see this kind of behavior and not being able to express themselves in that kind of creative outlet, it's just so sad.
I'm expressing myself now.
I really need to stress this the most I possibly can, is that in the real world, in real life, when people actually do play the game and don't just yell about how they're going to stop playing the game, you are all extremely...
You can also play the video games. There are many video games. You can even play a tabletop simulator of Warhammer 40k. So the tabletop is no longer the only thing that represents Warhammer anymore. And it has been that way for, I think, at least 2 decades. So tabletop, of course, is the origin, is always going to be the status quo. But that doesn't mean that you don't have all the tons of video games that also represent the lore to a certain extent, in certain factions, and it's something that you can actually control in the game and literally play, so you can also play the video games. That's still playing Warhammer.
welcome here. A particular emphasis on women, the trans, Black, Asian, and Jewish community. Particular emphasis. You are all extremely welcome here, as well as every other ethnicity out there.
But I'm not, because I do not agree with the opinion that we have to have female custodies, because GW decided to poop that out of their behind.
In real life, we all want to enjoy this big nerdy hobby interest that we all share. In real life, that's how it is. So I'd ask that hopefully none of this will get you down too much. It's embarrassing. It's painfully embarrassing, but...
Oh my gosh, we gotta pretend it's so embarrassing that people have an opinion and, you know, rightfully so, are outraged about breaking of the lore. Okay.
And that's just what I wanted to talk about. Like if, you know, in about, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years from now, when female Space Marines are confirmed, you're not going to get a video from me for that. Like I've said,
just do this with your hands, and yeah, he just wants to be out of this conversation altogether.
My piece. I've done what I needed to do. I just, you know, I'm just so embarrassed. You know, it's just this happens so often, and
this happens so often. Yeah, every day GW decides to break concrete part of the lore. Sure.
If whatever steps can be taken to rectifying that would be nice. So, yeah, there you go. That's it. You know, for the God Emperor and all that. Not today. Not today.
Oh yes, he's so offended by this, but by our behavior. It's just not no. He's just not gonna say it.
We're in a death to the false emperor day today. Hell yeah. All right.
What? So yeah, he's a heretic. Bye. To your answer your questions, to your answering the question, guys in the chat, yes, he's a heretic. Okay, guys, so I'm going to quickly check your comments. Of course, if you didn't hear me address what he said, just have to watch the stream from the beginning, because I tried to address as much as possible everything that he said and explain why something is a problem, and it's not just because people are getting their panties in a bunch for no reason. I explained the reasons. So yeah, going to go through your comments as much as I can real quick, because it's like midnight. Oh, it's really midnight here. So yeah, gotta go, guys, in general. So Matthew, this is the first time you hear about Bricky, but he's a huge YouTuber, and he really has very good videos about the lore and the factions. Although he did get some things wrong. And the funny thing is that when I was first starting out in 40k, I did a reaction of his human faction video, which is huge, and his Xenos factions video. And back then I didn't know as much as I know now, and I had some logical questions about it, and I assumed some stuff about the lore, and I turned out to be correct just by knowing how some writers think when they write things, because that's one of my specialties when it comes to literature. I cannot say this word in English, but yeah, basically, I was taught to think like a writer so I can, analyze how things are written, why they're written a certain way. That's also a thing. So, by all of that logic and some of the things that I saw in 40k, I was just like, oh, how about this? Or is this that or something? So, I did guess quite a lot. It was pretty fun. But then, of course, when I got to understand more about the lore, I was like, some things are kind of like misrepresented. The way that he said them is not exactly like that. That's why it's good to go through the lore by yourself. Actually, read the books, read whatever you can, and not just listen to how other people talk about the lore, because a lot of things are not exactly this way. I'm totally one with some of the dissection that, for example, Luton has done. It's very cool, and we have met on a lot of points before. But on other points or some other creators that are trying to analyze 40k just falls flat. It's not exactly like that. So it's just good to just have your own opinion. Yeah, of course. Don't just rely on lore videos. So there's that. Yeah, what people say here. So he's trying to prove that women have a place in the hobby, as if that was ever in question. Exactly. Exactly. It's not ever in question. There's even like a official GW girl that shows how you can paint. There's stories about that. So there's that. But yeah, guys, okay, for those of you that never have seen me before and you don't know that I actually coach fitness, health, nutrition, intimate relationships, any problem that you may have in your life, basically when it comes to friends and intimate relationships. I also do custom ASMR videos. All that I do in a non-Slaaneshy way at OnlyFans, just because it's a platform where you can for free upload videos. So it's a great for any content really. So the fact that some people decide to do it for Slaaneshi things doesn't mean that all people use it for that. I use it for good. I also show my own body in terms of how I progress with my physique update, but all is done with taste and is not explicit or anything like that. So if you want to see if you want to get some of this, if you're interested in improving your health, fitness, whatever you need to do, your ways of eating, I'm there for you guys. But yeah, I really wish there was a better site for this, but the site is done as such where you don't see anything else. If you're, sub to one person, you just see that, and I don't really have a feed, like nothing. And most of the time, actually, when I do see something, it's like about absolutely normal content, like vlogs, and some person is advertising their music or something. So yeah, it's not really that bad as people make it out to be. But at least it's a private space that we can talk and whatever you need, really. Whatever I can do is more of the thing. Okay. As a matter of fact, I found that women like lore from his videos from 34 years ago, and the old lore too. So why change things now? It can actually appeal to women without pandering. Yeah, the answer is ESG. Yeah, like I've said, guys, just I don't need women in anything to like anything. I just need good characters. If they happen to be women or men, that is also amazing. It matters the story and the meaning. That's it. You can have both, but you can also be writer and write a story about a sock. And then who is going to complain that you didn't want to include a female sock? That's gonna be stupid. If you want to be creative, write a story about anything and not include anything else but a sock in it, you have the right to do that. So, yeah, love you guys, and see you soon as possible, maybe even tomorrow. So, love you guys. Bye bye. For me, Gary, the 40K Empress Show. Good night. Have a great new week.